my fellow Americans. My name is Joseph P. Firmich, candidate for President of the United States for 2024. Today, as we celebrate the 4th of July holiday and over the days and the weekend to come, I'd like you to carry with you in your minds and in your hearts something that is deeply important to me, and that is the genesis and the character of our great Constitution and why it matters to all of us Americans. The Constitution is not just a piece of paper or a set of rules. It is a living document that reflects the vision and the values of our founding fathers and the aspirations and the challenges of our nation. It is a document that defines who we are as a people, what we stand for as a country, and what we strive for as a democracy. The genesis of the Constitution is a remarkable story that began in 1787, when delegates from 12 states met in Philadelphia to create a new system of government that would replace the Articles of Confederation, which was the first attempt to create a national government after the American Revolution itself. The Articles of Confederation had many flaws and weaknesses, such as the lack of a strong central authority, the inability to regulate commerce and taxation, and the lack of a common currency and a national army. The delegates soon realized that they needed to create a new system of government that would address these problems and secure the future of their young republic. But creating a new system of government was not an easy task. The delegates had different opinions and interests on various issues, such as the representation of states in the Congress, the balance of power between the federal and state governments, the role of the executive branch, and the protection of individual rights. They also faced many challenges and obstacles, such as the threat of foreign interference, a very serious threat during the colonial era, the fear of tyranny and anarchy for such a young nation to be, and the resistance of some states to ratify the new Constitution. The Constitution that they created was also a source of hope and inspiration for generations of Americans who fought to preserve it, to defend it. It is a document that defines who we are as a people, what we stand for as a country, and what we strive for as a democracy. Despite these difficulties, the delegates did not give up. They engaged in vigorous debates and discussions. They listened to each other's perspectives, and they made compromises and concessions. They sought guidance from history and philosophy and their own experience. They also drew upon inspiration from their common ideals and principles, such as liberty, equality, justice, and the popular sovereignty. That is the governance of the people, by the people, for the people. They worked hard for 4 months, after years and decades, indeed, of planning for this kind of future for a newborn nation, until they produced a draft of the Constitution that was signed by 38 delegates on September 17th, 1787, and 1 delegate signed it later by proxy. The Constitution that they created was not perfect. It had some flaws and limitations, such as not including a specific Bill of Rights that listed and guaranteed the rights of the people, which was a major concern for some of the critics who wanted more protection from potential abuses of power by the federal government. It also did not directly address slavery or abolish it. In fact, it did include some provisions that indirectly supported it and protected the interests of slaveholders. It also excluded women and minorities from political participation, but it was also, and most importantly, a masterpiece of political innovation and creativity in governance. It created a bicameral legislature, or Congress, with 2 houses, if you will, 2 parts, that balanced the powers between states of different sizes with different numbers of citizens. It introduced an executive branch headed by a president who was elected by an electoral college, a representative body from each of the states, and it established an independent judiciary led by the Supreme Court, a judiciary that could interpret and apply the law. And it provided a mechanism even for amending itself, for amending the Constitution to adapt to changing circumstances and needs of our citizens. The Constitution that they created was also a source of hope and inspiration for generations of Americans who fought to preserve it, defend it, and improve upon it. It inspired patriots who fought to preserve and strengthen the independence they had won from Britain, abolitionists who fought against slavery, suffragists who fought for women's rights, civil rights activists who fought for racial equality, and reformers who fought for social justice. It also inspired millions of immigrants who came to America in search of freedom and opportunity, and millions of citizens who participated in elections, protests, movements, and organizations to shape their government, their new society, our new society. The genesis of the Constitution is a story that reminds us of where we came from, who we are, and what we stand for as Americans. It is a story that challenges us to honor the legacy of our founding fathers, to respect the rights and responsibilities of our citizenship, and to contribute to the common good of our nation. It is a story that invites us to celebrate our diversity, to cherish our unity, and to renew our commitment to our democracy. My friends, this story is not over. It continues today, in our time, in our hands. We are the heirs of this great experiment, this noble endeavor, this sacred trust. We are the guardians of this precious heritage, this priceless treasure, this living legacy. We are the makers of this glorious history, this unfolding destiny indeed. I believe a shining future. We have inherited a constitution that has endured for over 2 centuries, and that has survived wars, crises, and changes. We have inherited a constitution that has empowered us to achieve great things, to overcome great challenges, and to make extraordinary progress, not only as a society, but as a species, inspiring other nations across this great planet. We have inherited a constitution that has inspired us to uphold our values, to defend our freedoms, and to pursue our dreams. It's why we are proud to be American citizens in the first place. As I said, we inherited a constitution that is not perfect, that is not complete. It is never final. We have a constitution that needs our care and attention, and our improvement, indeed. We have a constitution that demands our vigilance, our participation, and our responsibility. We have a duty to protect our constitution from those who would undermine it, violate it, or destroy it. We have a duty to respect our Constitution by obeying its laws, following its rules, and honoring its principles. And we have a duty to improve that great document by continuing to address its flaws, continuing to correct its errors, and continuing to fulfill its promises. Whether we will neglect it or nurture it, whether we will weaken it or strengthen it. My friends, as we reflect on the genesis of our great Constitution, let us also learn from the example of the writers of the Constitution and the cooperation they demonstrated in their Constitutional Convention. They were not perfect men, and they did not agree on everything. They had different backgrounds, beliefs, and interests. They faced many difficulties, doubts, and disagreements. But they also had a common vision and a common purpose. And they did indeed believe that they had a common destiny. I know so much about these topics because my father, Edwin Brown Firmage, was one of the most honored constitutional law professors and professors of constitutional history in the United States, indeed across its great history. I know that he would be speaking these words if he were with us today. They shared a common belief in a destiny for our great nation, and I share that as well. They were willing to listen, to learn, to compromise, and to collaborate. They were able to overcome their differences and their fears to create something greater than themselves. They were able to form a lasting union based upon the principles of democracy, federalism, and the separation of powers. They gave us a constitution that has served us so well, for nearly 2.5 centuries, and that continues to guide us today. Let us honor their legacy and their enduring spirit of collaboration, of working together for the good of the nation, for all of our sacred citizens, our brothers and sisters. And by keeping our Constitution alive in our hearts and our minds, it shall endure, in my view, for centuries, even millennia to come. We have a vision to share about our Constitution with the world, a vision of a government of the people, by the people, for the people. A vision of a land of the free and the home of the brave. They're not just words. They most definitely matter. We have a mission to accomplish with our Constitution, a mission to secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, a mission to promote the general welfare and ensure the common defense of both our land and our people and our allies and our interests. It is our Constitution, all of ours, as citizens of this great nation, and I shall, if necessary, give my life to protect and ensure its vitality in service to our nation. Thank you, my fellow citizens, for your attention and time this evening. May God bless you, your families, and may God bless the United States of America.